Are you a brand that can't or won't do video? If so, motion graphics might be the answer. Right, welcome back to another episode of T.E.A Talks. Darren joins me back in the hot seat, and this time round we're going to be discussing motion graphics.
Yes.
I love motion graphics, but I have no clue how it works,
Yes.
or even what it is. So, do you want to kick us off by explaining?
It's a mysterious thing.
It is a mysterious thing. To the layman among us, it is. So, motion graphics, what is it?
Well, first of all, I'm just going to answer what it's not.
Okay.
And it's not animation.
Right.
And that's a key thing that a lot of people assume motion graphics is animation. And often people will use animation instead of motion graphics. And they'll say, can you do me a bit of animation? Disney and Mickey Mouse and all of that is animation.
Yeah.
Is when you go drawing something and it comes to life and all of that. And Steamboat Willie, which we'll put a clip of because it's now in the public domain.
There you go.
So we won't get sued.
How old school are we going? Steamboat Willie and Mickey Mouse.
So that's not motion graphics.
Right.
Motion graphics is where you have a graphic, so a digital image, and it has motion. So it's a little bit almost simpler than animation, but I use that very lightly because it's still quite complicated.
Okay.
In its essence, it's just animated text or images.
Yeah.
So it might be some typography coming on screen in an interesting way. It might be some little icons coming up. Just lots of little things. It can really be as simple or complicated as you like.
Yeah. So as the opening statement of this episode, I said if you can't or won't use video.
Yes.
So just explain why we think if you can't use video. So video, obviously, you're physically getting stuff on film. So if you can't or won't do that, why and how could motion graphics be the answer?
Well, I'm unsurprisingly a huge advocate for video.
You surprise me.
Wow. But I do understand that sometimes people can't do it.
Yeah.
And actually, more often than that, people just don't want to.
Yeah.
Some people just don't want to be on screen. They're not comfortable with it. And to be honest, that's their choice. Though I would always advocate for it. Mm-hmm. It might be that you either don't want to, or it could be that your brand or whatever you're selling doesn't really warrant video as much as it might warrant motion graphics.
Yeah.
So, and in that case, whether or not you're just trying to put together a cool sort of upbeat, text-heavy sort of video that showcases like, this is what we do. It might be a service, it might be an app.
Like explainer videos.
Exactly.
Could be quite good.
Yeah. So it could be, say, for example, if, say, I'm just thinking off the top of my head here, like a HR company has an app.
Yeah.
That's quite difficult to film.
Yeah.
Unless you just have someone sat in front of the camera going, hello, I'm Dr. So-and-so.
Yeah.
And this is my app.
Yeah.
But that's not necessarily going to be the most interesting thing. You can convey the idea in a lot more engaging way by doing the whole thing sometimes with motion graphics.
Yeah.
All you need is some quick-paced music, some engaging typography, a few icons, a bit of sound effects, and you got yourself.
And a video marketing expert who knows how to do it.
Yeah.
Who put it all together.
And actually, that is a really good point, because whereas I've always encouraged people to just do it with video, it's not quite the same with motion graphics. You can't just pick it up and go with it. It does require...
Yeah, this isn't you can get your phone out, press record, and you're off to the races, is it? No, really?
It does require a little bit of know-how, and particularly if you want to get it done right, then you're going to need someone who knows their stuff.
But it's good for, in those scenarios, if you're not comfortable on film, or if you can't do it, or it's not suitable, or whatever, in those situations, but you want to do something beyond just a still image, or just plain text. If you want to have a little bit more fun with it, a little bit more innovative, motion graphics, making your graphics, introducing motion into your graphics is a good way of telling a story, conveying a
Yeah,
message, getting your point
absolutely.
across in a more interesting way, right? A more visually eye-catching way, yeah?
Yeah. Because I think at the end of the day, like, what you're trying to do is tell a story.
Yeah.
And sometimes, and you need to showcase your brand's sort of style, their vibe. And a lot of people who aren't comfortable on camera aren't going to be able to do that successfully as much as they would if you had a motion graphics video.
Yeah, yeah. So what are some of the benefits then?
So again, so we've mentioned a couple of them already. There's benefits if you lack the ability or desire to do other things.
Yes.
So it can be a replacement for video in that sense. I mean, the benefits with motion graphics are almost as good as they are with video. And we've spoken about video on here before, where I think I said the stat was 87% higher engagement. And I think with motion graphics, it's around the 60% mark. So again, it's much higher engagement than if you were to just do graphics on their own.
Yep.
Anything that's in motion is always going to benefit you more than something that's not in motion.
Yes, yeah.
So it's hugely beneficial in that way. I think also it gives you almost slightly less limits on your creativity than even, say, video, because with video you have to be filming something in space and time, whereas motion graphics, the limit is your imagination.
Yes. Yeah.
So as long as you have those resources of, say, making sure that your brand has its guidelines in terms of its logos and its colors and all of that, because I think that's one of the biggest pitfalls that a lot of people might fall down. And I've said this with video, but I think it's even more with motion graphics, is that you could very quickly go off the deep end and sort of go down the route of something that is just not your brand.
Yeah.
I think it's very important to stick to your brand. So, but once you do that, you can make something that is...
Because that's the other thing, is that you can obviously, if you can just buy off the shelf templates and stuff, but it's never going to look and feel like your own, is it? If you just go, we want to animate something, we're going to use some generic off-the-shelf type stuff.
There are plenty of things out there. I mean, I'm a huge sort of advocate, not sponsored though, for Envato Elements, which we use for some things. One thing we don't use it for is for a lot of the templates for motion graphics and things out there. We try to stay away from that stuff. Not because it's necessarily a bad idea, because it can be useful. It's just, as you say, there's no... basically what I'm trying to say is, someone else out there might have used the same thing. There's no protection against that sort of, someone else has used it. It's just not your own, and then and somebody goes, I thought that was you, but that's actually someone else. And
so if you're not going to use the templates, of which we absolutely wouldn't advocate, how easy or tough is it to do this stuff? Because you're making it sound very easy, but it's because it's your thing. If someone's watching this thinking, it sounds good because there's no way you're getting me on camera. I love the idea of bringing my product, my service, to life. But realistically, how tough is this to do?
It's one of those things where with video, there's that sort of genuineness of having quite low quality. I don't think that applies to motion graphics. I think it's got to be up there.
It's got to look good, isn't it?
It's got to look good.
Yeah, it has,
And I think if you're going to do it yourself and you've never done it before, it might be worth bringing someone in.
You need to get someone to do it.
Yeah.
You need to, there's no way I'm touching it, even going near motion graphics. But, so I think you have, whether you do it, you get someone to do it, or you can work with us, or you get, you've got to buy that expertise in, haven't you? You've got to buy that expertise in. But I think in doing that, the actual process of, because that's the other thing, I had no clue about how long that would take. And you've shown me some stuff that you've done and others that that have done. And I've sort of said, that to me, I have no way of knowing how long does that take.
No.
And often it's quicker than you actually
quite
think.
Quicker, yeah.
It's amazing.
And it's funny because I would often say that motion graphics, it can take less time than doing a video, particularly if you need to go and film something for video. But then at the same time, if it's something that you're going to buy into, it can often be more expensive, because I think it does require that much more expertise and knowledge. But it's a hugely helpful tool.
Yeah. It's also because you can, and that's the other thing that we're doing again, but you can repurpose it again.
Yes.
You can slice and dice it, and you
much
can
easier
use it
to edit and use again for something else. Say a name of something changes slightly, or just like one, you need to just swap out an image for another one. Yeah, it's got endless.
It's like future-proofed, isn't it?
It
Even
is.
more than video, actually, because if with video you've shot something and then something changes, we need to reshoot that thing. Whereas with motion graphics, you can just go in and update it. I think that works.
Also, much easier to make loads of iterations of
different versions
of one thing.
No, it works. So costs then. Everyone always wants, well, how much is it going to cost? It all sounds great. And again, not just from our perspective, but just generally, if I've never done motion graphics, I think, oh, okay, I've watched that T.E.A Talk, might consider motion graphics. Can I do motion graphics for 500 quid?
No.
Is it going to cost me 50 grand?
No.
So it's kind of, it doesn't have to cost a fortune.
It doesn't.
But you can't do it for pennies,
Absolutely
like most
not.
things in life, right?
Exactly. And I would say, I mean, you've obviously got the two avenues of getting someone in or having someone do it for you. Getting someone in obviously is going to give you a regular amount, but you've got to pay them a salary and such. I think, again, I don't like to sell things on here, but we would charge probably a minimum of about 2,000.
Yeah.
And that's
bargain. What are you waiting for?
Yeah, it is. It's a great price.
It's. I think what we're trying to say is it like with most things, you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
But it doesn't. I think with so much of the conversations that we have on T.E.A Talks is with the creative side of obviously what we do as an agency, but just generally with creativity is I've been amazed at how cost effectively we can do stuff. Really good quality stuff, like amazing creative that covers all of the stuff the assets that we need for our paid media campaigns. But we can do it in quite a cost effective way, but also in quite a timely way as well. It's shown me and what I want to get across to brands, whether they do their marketing in-house or whether they're working with an agency, is actually don't discount and go motion graphics. Oh, that's something only huge companies do. Video. Oh, we couldn't possibly do. Actually, with tech, with all the stuff going on, the barrier to entry is actually coming down, isn't it? And I think you've only by having the conversation with whoever you're working with, actually just go, maybe we could look into motion graphics. Maybe we could look into this.
Absolutely.
You just don't know where, and you might actually be amazed at you can't for this cost and this time frame and so on.
Well, and that's the thing. If you've got the time and like the energy, like you can learn this stuff. It's not impossible. It's complicated if you've never touched anything like it. But it's doable.
And I think the other thing, just to wrap everything, is what we're doing, and I think what is really impactful and the thing that I always find eye-catching is actually a blend of both motion graphics and video. So a lot of the videos we're creating, we're weaving, so it's not an out-and-out motion graphics piece, but we're leveraging motion graphics within the video or within the assets we're creating.
It goes back to those classic old trailers where you've got In a World and you've got This Summer.
Darren has the best voiceover voice, by the way.
We may or may not be doing something about that, but we'll see. But those, again, they always had the typography. In a World, This Summer, the new hit.
It's all of that.
Blockbuster hit. And then they had it interlaced with footage of the films. And I guess like they don't do that much anymore, but it was working
for years.
For a reason.
For years and years and years. Well, there you go. Hopefully we've given you some ideas when it comes to motion graphics. If you've never done it before, maybe give it a whirl. Let us know what you think. It's a really interesting one. We're doing so much of it and actually having all sorts of fun, and we're actually getting our clients on board to start doing it, which is proving to be really interesting. So we thought we'd make it an interesting T.E.A Talk. Hope you've enjoyed it. Let us know what you think in the comments, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care.
Bye.